Welcome, everybody, to another episode in this series for Mastermind Leaders. My name is Sebastian Cruze. I'm a 7-year Mastermind leader. And today we have the topic of money magnetism for Mastermind leaders with Hannah Chapman. Before I share a bit about what we're going to get into today, first and foremost, check in with Hannah. How are you doing today? Welcome to the interview.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. I'm so just happy to be here and talking with you about this. We've been working together for a long time, and I'm just really excited to share more on this topic and about how we can make money more easily, more in line with who we are.
Absolutely. So, fun fact about Hannah is that she has been in the financial space for over 17 years. So that's what I really love is the human design frame, the gene keys frame. How can you make more money based on your human design and your gene keys profiles? And Hannah brings the over 17 years of financial experience to it. She's managed over $80 million in financial assets. She's written over 2,000 financial plans. So the precision here is very incredible. And so if you are a person who's into human design, you've felt the power in your own life, if you've felt the power of the gene keys, this is the time to pull up your profiles right now, because this is going to be a walkthrough demo where you can get actionable insights. And that's the problem that I had before I encountered Hannah's work, is that I love the gene keys, love the human design. Of course, there's a lot of details. And my business mind is always thinking about, okay, how can I take all this wonderful information, but how can I extract and distill the pieces that will actually create real momentum? And because I didn't want to just be absorbing information and then not taking any action. So what Hannah's method, money magnetism, allows us to do is like really take a look at both profile systems and cherry pick the pieces that you can use immediately on this call, after this call, to start seeing momentum in your business.
Yeah. So Sebastian, I would love to share a little bit about my background and why this matters and why this fits together. Um, so from my time in the industry, I've been in the financial industry since 2006. I started in banking and then moved over to financial services, specifically like financial planning, in 2007. And I am still a certified financial planner. So I'm a licensed fiduciary advisor for my clients through X Squared Wealth Planning. And I want to call attention to that because it's a very different lens to be looking at this through than strictly from the money mindset energy space. Which I really find important, right? So that aspect, being in alignment with your own energy, being in alignment with who you are as a unique being, is a big part of it. But then I'm also bringing this side to the table: the logic, the implementation, the expertise in my field and financial planning in particular, in helping people create wealth in a way that feels good to them. And so I share that because I did that for a long time without these tools, without the human design and gene keys tools. And it's very interesting to see how much more quickly, more easily, and with more um, feeling more in tune with yourself that we can do that when we do utilize human design in our gene keys. It's like the rocket fuel
Hmm.
that gives us that, all the information that we would glean, when we do go through a discovery session and we talk about what you really want to create and talk about what really matters to you. You'll get to those same things, right? And then I could take that information and go, okay, here's how we would create a financial plan that would get you to where you want to go. But then even in that, if you are not then following your internal guidance on a regular basis, that plan, that beautiful, logical, charts and graphs plan that you have, doesn't actually get implemented to its fullest capacity, to its fullest. You don't get to take advantage of the opportunities that are there in front of you if you aren't then aligned to who you truly are, right? When there's that disconnect, when we don't bring those together, transformation especially financial transformation, really doesn't happen. If we're just looking at the data, just looking at the logic. So bringing these two together has been, over the last several years, this has been about, for my own life, I've been doing this for more than 3 years at this point. And then with clients, bringing these together for the last 2 years, it's mind blowing, to see the difference that it's making.
Right. And to clarify, you've been in the financial planning space for over 17 years. And then in the last 3 years, it's been, whoa, let's bring the rocket fuel with the human design gene keys to things. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. So yeah, and thanks for that backstory too, and balancing, let's say, the left brain, the logic, with the right brain, intuition, as well as what is a person's personal money code, maybe you could call it, of who they are meant to work with, how they're meant to work, and what actually energizes them. So if you could share, what does money magnetism mean to you in, yeah, with gene keys and human design?
Yeah. So money magnetism, to me, when I use that phrase, it really means, how are you being that is going to then attract those right clients, those right partners, those right investors, to you, just through your energy of being who you are truly meant to be in this lifetime. And so when we look at it from the stance of, how are you charging up your magnet? I believe that we are always attracting things to us,
Mm,
whether we are, attracting things that, from a gene keys perspective, you can be in the shadow or you can be in the gift of your energy.
right.
And if we're, in the shadow of our energy, then we're attracting that to us.
Mm,
And when we are in the gift of our energy, then we're attracting that. And so the purpose of the money magnet mastermind and the money magnet, theme in general is, how do we learn how to walk in the gifts that are inherent to us over and over, make those conscious choices to be in our gift energy. And that is what literally brings these opportunities to you with more ease and more flow. Um, we can look specifically at, the Gene Keys prosperity sequence. That's one of the things that we dive into in the mastermind, is the prosperity sequence in particular, and it shows you, what is it that you are meant to do in this lifetime? Who are you meant to work with, and how? In what capacity, and what is your, best way to do that? And we can like hone in on these things just through, our gene keys, and then the human design information that goes along with that as well.
mm. Fantastic. And I'd like to spend a little extra time on the money magnetism definition, because I know, especially in this space, I feel like it can be very nebulous. It can be very, ungrounded, unpractical. And
Mm,
so, yeah, I just really resonate with what you shared is, well, what I took away from it was money magnetism is the people you are attracting. And regardless of what we do, we're in the people business, but even more so as a mastermind leader, we're in the people business, communication business, leadership business. So just really having that takeaway is, what does money magnetism mean? It means the people you're attracting, clients, team members, joint
mhm,
ventures, advisors, you said investors as well. And so I think that's a great anchor point to always come back to today. It's like, okay, how does this affect business? What's the people? What's the people you're attracting? Like you said, we're always attracting on some way, and bringing that into like the gene keys, if it's always showing us like the shadow or the gift, and stepping into that gift more so that the right people that do feel aligned show up. And so, yeah, I just feel like that's a very practical way of then looking at it and being like, okay, fill up the magnet so the right people are coming in. Would that be
mhm.
accurate?
Yes. Yeah. And there are a few different, metaphors we can put, in there too, but the magnet, I think, is the strongest one, because when we're charging up that magnet, if you think of a really strong magnet, it has two main, functions. It attracts things really strongly, and it repels things really strongly on the other pole, right? And so that's what we're looking for we actually want to have that strong attraction side and that strong repelling side. And so both of those, right? That's going to help bring the people to you that are meant for you, and repel the people away who are not for you. Um, we can talk about that in a lot of different ways, but it really is leaning into your specific gifts. People are going to be super attracted to that, or they're going to be like, wow, that's not for me. And that's what you want. You want to have that effect of, yes, the people who are looking for what you provide are like, you're the one. I have been looking for you and I didn't even know it. And or I knew you existed, but I couldn't find you. And here you are. I can actually share a story about that. Um, three three recent clients, it might even be four, um, that have come into my world since I started the Money Magnet Mastermind in particular. So this was last July, I started talking about it. I had been for like 2 years, I'd been trying to figure out like, how do I talk about human design more? How do I bring this more out into my marketing, into what I'm saying? And I had kind of a block around my self-expression around this, and it was very interesting. So I worked through a lot of that, a lot of fear around being seen fully for all the things that I care about, who I truly am, all of that. And so as I worked through that and I started talking really openly about human design and gene keys, last year in August, I decided to do a free month. So like the mastermind, the way it is now, I did it for a month in August for free and invited people. And, there was like 30 to 40 people signed up. Lots of them came, like 25, 30 people at a time would be there, um, for these weekly sessions where we went through the prosperity sequence. And from that offering, which I was so excited to do, I was in my energy and my flow, and I was really having a great time. So many clients came to me into X squared specifically, and into the Money Magnet Mastermind, but also like into my financial planning offering, because they said, I have wanted someone who would bring these two things together, and
Mm,
I did not see that anywhere else.
mm,
Like I wished that that existed, and I didn't see it out in the world until I found you. And that's exactly what I've been looking for. And so for me, that was I wanted to work with people who were excited about human design and gene keys, and wanting to really transform their relationship to money in some way.
mm,
Whether that's, being more secure with your relationship with money, or increasing your business and increasing your impact. All of these things go hand in hand with really understanding, again, who you are as a unique being, which is what human design tells us. So for me, like that tangible example for me of like, yeah, when I got louder, when I started sharing my heart more fully, I also started to attract exactly the people who I was hoping to connect with, the people, not just hoping to connect with, but the people who wanted the thing that I wanted to give.
mm,
That's really the magic, right? This is what's on my heart to give. And they're like, yes, please, this is what I want.
mm. Fantastic. So love that example that everybody can connect to. And something stood out to me from that, which was what money magnetism looks like. So again, is it like, you just look at your gene keys profile, maybe you hit a meditation position, wait a few seconds, and then is the door knocking with, people that are like, hey, I heard the call, here's my money. It's like, okay, it's not that. It's in an extremely practical way. It sounds like it's the action. You got an inspiration to take an action, okay? Because boom, that energy was there. Then I would say your mood when you're there. So I've noticed as well. So whether it's a webinar for somebody, or a Zoom call, or a live event, or a connection call for us too, like when we're in our zone, I know that for myself, like, happier mood is there. It's like, okay, that's probably more magnetic than kind of being like flat, even if the smile's there, the energy is just off. So the way I look at it is like those could be different branches where maybe in the right mood, person would be like, boom, let's explore, rather than maybe it flat being like, I don't really feel it. So like maybe there's four here. There's like the inspiration, number one, the action, number two, the mood, number three, and then I'm sure like the words, what I heard from your story too. So like if the energy is right, the action's right, it's like you probably use different words when you were able to really own, hey, human design, gene keys, we're not hiding this behind it. Like, if this isn't your thing, it's okay. It's just probably not going to really vibe with the rest of the webinar. And if you're curious, like join a board. So yeah, inspiration, action, mood, words. I can see how that's a very practical like flow that happens when a person is lined up. Then yeah, that is magnetic. People are like the right people, like, okay, this is the right message, this is the right energy. Like, tell me more.
Exactly. And again, it comes back to who you're being even more than what you're doing. And that's exactly what you're getting at with those four pieces you just mentioned, is that when you are moving from inspired action, and when you are in your brightness, and when people are like, oh, you are so lit up, or when you were talking about that, I could see it in your eyes, or I could hear it in your voice that you were excited. That draws other people to be excited with you. So yeah, it's that, you could be doing the webinar and totally flat, and like, yeah, I'm not into this, or I'm scared about it, or it's doesn't feel right, versus doing the webinar or the connection call or whatever and being like so excited, to share, right, in a way that's genuine and authentic, and from a place of pure, like, just giving. You're giving that thing that you love, and there, someone is there that's ready to receive it.
Absolutely. And, for the fast action takers listening, if you're curious about hearing more about Hannah's Money Magnet Mastermind, there's a link here to message her on Facebook to get the details on that. And so with that being said, we've got the money magnetism definition, how that practically means you attract the right people, all different, ways they show up, as well as your energy, action, mood, words are flowing. How do we get there? Yeah, how does a person get there?
Yeah. So if I can share my screen, and I can, so it looks like good. I'm going to show you. So this is literally from um actually yesterday at our Money Magnet Mastermind meeting that we had. We started going through the sphere of vocation, in a deep dive. And so when we're talking about the gene keys, this is the map. This is the gene key map that you're seeing right here. This is actually my gene key map. This is me. So here I am, on paper.
A little
When
bit
we're
different of a hairdo.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, you can see my insides in an interesting way. Here's my chakras. So anyway, here's what we're really focusing on, is the blue here on the map. So if you have your gene key map, you can look at this and follow along. Like, we are really deep diving into these aspects. The pearl right here in the middle is considered the culmination of the entire sequence that you see. It goes through three different aspects. The green is the genius sequence. So it starts up here on the green on your life's work and follows these green all the way down to purpose. And then once you've kind of like dug into your purpose, then it shifts over to the Venus sequence, or the love sequence, and goes through these red circles up until you hit the vocation sphere. And the vocation sphere right here is where the pearl sequence starts. Pearl sequence, prosperity sequence, the same thing. The vocation is how you are here to work in the world. And this is what we're going through, this month. And the culture sphere is how you relate to people, both like who you're here to connect with, what's called your fractal line, those people who are meant to find you in this lifetime, whether that's to be, like we said before, a client or a collaborator or an investor or a mentor, whatever that looks like. This is your energy that's drawing the right people to you. Then we have
Oh,
your,
can
oh,
we
go ahead.
pause right there? So a little bit for everybody who is listening, the pearl sequence is that triangle. And so let's see. So Richard Rudd, the founder of Gene Keys, that's the prosperity sequence, right?
Mhm.
Typically viewed as prosperity, pearl prosperity. So that triangle with the dot in the middle. And so with that framework, we can like zone in to that in terms of the money magnet. And then are you saying that then the culture one, that bottom right one with the cursor, that's really, is that about like the who, like the people that you're meant to attract, team,
Yes,
clients, allies?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. This is your relationship to people,
Mhm.
your culture. And there are some really cool things that we can dive into on that as well. It's a really powerful thing to know about yourself. Um, for me, and again, this is my chart, and I can speak to it a little bit. The way that the gene keys work is that you have three different energies within each one. And
Right.
so there's a shadow energy, again, where you're not just repelling, you're attracting shadow to you when you are in that energy. And in this particular version of the chart, it's this one right here. So for me, that's struggle. And then when we say, okay, this is on my culture sphere, that means when I'm struggling with people, when I am feeling like I am not connecting with someone, when I am feeling anxiety and worry about connecting with another human, that's my culture sphere. That's the shadow of my culture coming up. What does that turn into? So the gift energy is perseverance. And so what does that look like? That means that looks like showing up. It means for me, and when I want to isolate, when I want to pull away and withdraw from other people because of that, that fear, that struggle, whatever's happening, my gift, stepping into my gift is showing up and showing up for myself and showing up for others, not isolating.
Mhm.
And so for me, that is my key. That is a key for me. And what that turns into, this one that's bold, it's called the Siddhi. That's Siddhi. That's the highest, most transcendental energy. And so it's not necessarily something that we are going to experience as humans, right? This is the enlightened energy. This is again, the highest expression of that energy um, in this energy flow. And so the way that we talk about it in the mastermind is to really um, identify your shadow, identify when you are in shadow, what that feels like in your body, what that feels like when you notice it around you, and then love on that part of you. Like pay attention to that part and be like, what is this trying to tell me? What's happening here? What's triggering this? What part of me, maybe it's an inner child healing that needs to happen around that.
Mhm.
What's the story that's coming up for me with that struggle? And then once my older, wiser self can then, come into alignment with, I understand what's happening. All right, here's how we're going to persevere.
Mhm.
Here's the action step I'm going to take that is in my gift of perseverance. And that's how I know that I'm, consistently walking in my gift.
Mhm.
So, Sebastian, I know that's a really key aspect for you too, right? In making this truly applicable.
Right. So for everybody listening, you got your Gene Keys map up. You're looking at the culture sphere. And so what's made sense for me, experiencing your method, Hannah, has been okay. If the culture is about the people, person listening, okay, who are the people that you're attracting to right now? You can take mental stock of, in your business, outside of your business, who are those people that you're attracting? Does it feel like it's, really a fit, or maybe is it a little wobbly at certain places, or maybe just really not the fit at all? And so then what's really made sense to me here in your method is, okay, let's look at the shadow. So in your case, it's the struggle one. So for everybody listening at home, okay, let's look at your shadow one. How has that been showing up in your relationships with the people? You know, have you been
Mhm.
feeling that? Have others been feeling that? And a pro tip that I've learned from your approach has been to then actually pull up the Gene Keys book.
Mhm.
And in the Gene Keys book, there is the shadow. Oh yeah, we got, depending on you got yours, I got an old edition, 12 years ago, 13. There's like sub shadows, what I like to call them. Sub shadows, which is the repressive or the, what's the other one?
Reactive. Yeah,
Reactive.
repressive
Okay.
and reactive.
So it's kind of like within that struggle, there's two sub shadows. And what I found, experiencing your work is that those really hit in a different way, like one of those. Like
Yeah.
if you're looking at your shadow right now and it's like, oh, okay, maybe that kind of fits, maybe it doesn't, whatever. That's a lot of times how it is for me. And then we go to the book and you see those sub shadows, um, repressive or reactive. And then it's like one of those is like, well, damn, son of a gun.
Read
That's
me like a book.
yeah. Book, you read me like a book. So that's what I would invite you to do right now, because especially with this work, I feel like the thing we're always being mindful of is like information, like what's going to be applicable. So I'd say open it up right now. If you got it, find that sub shadow, and then should we take a look at what it looks like in your example?
Yeah. And so this is really beautiful. It's a huge book, right? It's like, it's gigantic. You see all my sticky notes of like all the different people and study, like, okay, this one's important. That one, they're all important and I love them all. But when I'm really looking and diving into this, right? This is exactly how I use it. And so for me, that 38.4, the 38 is where you go. The 38, it's using it like a dictionary or an encyclopedia. So go straight over to 38, and the overall theme of the shadow is struggle. But the repressive nature of the shadow is defeatist. And the defeatist attitude is what happens when the energy inside this gene key collapses. It's this sense of I can't, like the struggle is too much, and I'm just going to collapse under the weight of it. I'm going to give up. Right? That's the defeatist side. That's the repressive side. Anything that's on the repressive side is going to tend to be the one that withdraws. Again, like I mentioned, I tend to isolate when I feel like that's one of my go-tos is isolation. And so that is more the repressive side. But what can happen, and this happens to most people too, right? You're going to tend towards one more than the other. But if you get pushed hard enough, a lot of times you're going to move into the reactive side. And for me, the reactive nature is aggressive. And
Mhm.
aggressive being, like you want to pick a fight, like let's effing go. Like, all right, you pushed me all the way past through my repressive nature into back full circle back to the aggressive side. And now, you messed with the wrong person, right? And that is, again, it's not very common, but it has happened.
Mhm.
I can think back to experiences where I have been pushed that far and snapped back.
Mhm.
My nature is not, and for anyone listening to this who knows me pretty well, you'd be like, "What? You have never done that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. But it's not very common. It's not very common, but I know that that's when I am again pushed really hard into that side. And it's very, very interesting to then see, again, look back at those times in my life where I can identify, where I have given up versus where I have like snapped and really gone to the aggressive side. And when I came back into myself, came back into my own energy, was able to heal from a lot of those things, this gift of perseverance, that's where I'm like, I can see it. I can see even when I didn't know that that's what I was doing. That's I can map back my life and see how that has shown up. And now that I know that this is my culture sphere, this is my relationship to people, I can choose to see the struggle faster And that's, Sebastian, I think to your point too, right? It's like, look for it. That's what I encourage a lot is the awareness, right? Just being aware of it is so powerful. When we, have homework, quote unquote, each week, it's usually like notice, like have this contemplation in your mind, look at your repressive and reactive natures, and then just notice if it's coming up. That's your only job. Just notice it. And when you become aware of it, that's when you can start to say, "Oh, interesting. Now I can choose because I can see it." We can't make a choice to walk in the gift energy until we take the time to notice and be aware of when the shadow is showing up.
Right. So for everybody listening, looking at yours right now, fun way that I feel like is a way you could view it to notice is money repellent vision. So another of, if money magnetism is the good side, what's the bad side? Money repelling.
Mhm.
So that's what I believe is a way you could look at yours right now, look at the culture sphere, look at the struggle, look at the sub shadow, the repressive or reactive, and then be like, okay, whenever we are in that mood, that's repelling the people, aka repelling the money, the clients, the uh, business collaborators. So vision, just like you said, the noticing I think is great. And just really that this one precise thing has been very important for me and valuable for me because it's like, okay, I can just be mindful of where in the week is this piece showing up. And
Mhm.
it's great. It's really practical with once we get down to that piece. And then it's like, okay, if that's how is going to repel money, how can I step to the other side? Because that'll be magnetizing money. It'll be magnetizing the right people, having the right interactions with the people. So in this case, it's perseverance. So instead of the sub shadow defeatist, on the other side is persevering through that. And everybody listening right now, looking at your side, look at the other side. That one takeaway, I believe, will immediately give you tangible progress and just like results. Is like on
Mhm.
one side, that money repellent thing. Okay, let me step into the other side, wherever it shows up this week. Would you say
Mm.
that's accurate?
Yes. Yeah, that was such a good description. And it's the contemplation part. I actually heard this recently, or read this recently, that it's like contemplation is like the midpoint between focus and meditation.
Mm,
And so
interesting.
you're not like obsessing about it, and you're also not, looking to like meditate and clear your mind completely. Contemplation is getting into that receptive space that meditation can bring, and then like bringing this in. So where am I, yeah, where am I struggling, or where am I persevering, right?
Mm,
And like giving myself the contemplation is getting yourself into that state of awareness, kind of that open awareness, that you can get in meditation, and then letting yourself see what comes up, and seeing what comes to you in that state of contemplation. Um, and yeah, I do find that as well, that if we like focus on it, obsess about it, that kind of thing, that then um we're in too much of the thinking and doing again,
mm,
which most of us are really not made to do, right? This is, if we zoom in a little bit here, this is my human design chart.
mm,
That's also part of this map. And here, this is my crown and my mind, or crown and third eye, if you want to map them to the chakra system. These
mm,
are not defined for me. I'm not here, like here to be, not that I'm not here to think, but that's not my decision making center, right? That's not how I make decisions. Um, Naturally, it needs to come from my own gut instinct and my knowing, my gut knowing, in my sacral chakra here. That's my decision making process. And so being open to the information that's available through contemplation, I think is really powerful.
fantastic. And perhaps that's a good segue to go into the human design. So if a person has, okay, I got my contemplation piece on the culture sphere, Gene Keys, go into human design. What would you recommend as the place to start in terms of getting immediate progress of money magnetism instead of money repelling?
Yeah. So in the human design aspect of things, and so they are separate profiles, right? But they they work together in a really, really beautiful way. And in human design, one of the most important things that I always start with people is your authority. Your authority is your natural decision making process. And what I have found is that um, kind of maybe not no matter who you are, it really tends to default to write your pros and cons list, make things logical, make it make sense, right? Your decision making needs to again make sense up here in your head. You need to be following the most logical path. And what's true for all of us, almost all of us, is that that is not mental decision making is not our primary, like actual decision making authority in our bodies. And so what that looks like for a lot of people, there are several different kinds of authority. But if you look at your chart, you will see it should be listed. As one of a few ways. You might see something that says pure. And if it says pure manifesting generator or pure generator, for example, that means you have sacral authority. So just put a little note there.
Could we just say the authorities right now to give this set the stage for everybody?
Yeah. So there's sacral authority, is one. There's emotional authority. Um, so again, it will say emotional on there. You'll see that very clearly. There's splenic authority.
Mhm.
And those are the three like most common ones. So you're most likely going to be one of those three. The ones that are less common are going to be self-projected authority. It's you need to hear yourself speak. There's mental authority where you need to talk out your thoughts, similar to self-projected, and then a few other very like much less common ones, and then lunar authority is the least common where if you are a reflector in human design, you actually in order to make your most correct decision you need to wait a full lunar cycle or 28 days in order to experience all the different energies that are available, and then you make a decision. So again, the most common ones are sacral, emotional, and splenic.
Right. So everybody listening right now, you can go to your chart, human design. You can see which one is yours. And you can see what speed for your decision as well. Because I know, in traditional entrepreneurship, it's make a decision now, go, leaders make it go fast, fast, fast. And that's the exact opposite advice, the worst advice for, according to Gene Keys, basically 50% of the population. So could you share like a quick note on what each of these authorities, aka decision types, other way maybe looking at it as like your intuition, which way does it show up for you? Yeah, could you give a point on which each of these mean?
Yeah, so we'll go through those three main ones. Again, so if you are when you talked about the one that's more than 50%, emotional authority is more than 50% of the population. So more than half of people out there have an emotional authority, and that means you actually need to go through the highs and lows. You need to think about all the ways this thing is going to work out really well, this relationship, this investment, this course, this program, this decision. You need to think about all the ways it's going to be great, and then also let yourself feel into the fears that are going to come up around how are all the things that can go wrong.
Mhm.
What ways can this not be great? What ways could I not get my needs met? Like that's actually
Mhm.
your process. What that can look like, it can look like a pros and cons list. And so for a lot of times, people with emotional authority, they will like, okay, what are all the pros? What are all the cons? That's helping them manufacture or go through that emotional wave and come back to neutral. And so when you have gone through the ups and the downs, that's when you can then come to this decision of like, okay, I'm like 70 to 80% on the
Mhm.
good side.
Mhm.
I'm a 70 to 80% yes. That's actually that's your full yes. If you're a 70 to 80% no, that's your no. Because you've explored it. You're like, I know it could go well in these certain scenarios, but I'm really feeling like I'm a no. And that's your no. Or the other way. You know what? I know it could go wrong in these different ways, but I'm actually really excited about all the ways it could go right. That's my yes. And that's correct. There's also with emotional authority, the tagline is there is no clarity in the now.
Mhm. Right. Time is your ally as an emotional authority. Time is your ally.
Yeah, giving yourself time to sleep on it, right?
Right.
Like some people know that already without even knowing their human design. They already are living in it by saying, I need to sleep on this.
Right.
Um, and that's powerful.
I realized something in the interest of time. So probably don't have space today to go through each one because could, take 10, 15 minutes going on that. So what I'd say is, where's the resource that you recommend where they can get a refresher on what their type is? And then what would be great is to get your specific nuance with somebody who knows their type. They know the general flow of making decisions that way. And like, what's that extra oomph to bring the money magnetism to it?
Yeah, I love that. So in this will be posted in Facebook. I will put a link actually
Yeah.
to my favorite. It's a $35 report that you can pull and gives you
Yeah.
like a lot of information, especially if you've never really dived into human design.
Mhm.
It will tell you more about this. So I will share that in the comments for sure, and then people can certainly reach out as well. But with each of these different types, the money magnetism part, the part that's really important. So with emotional authority, giving yourself time and being in a space where like not letting anyone push you into a yes, right? That's the sales process tends to be, yeah, get the yes now, don't let the person off the call. That kind of sales process is not healthy for you at all. And so just knowing yourself that that's not for you, and if someone is pushing you in that direction, like, I'm going to stop you right there. That's not how I make decisions. We're gonna take a little bit more time. On the flip side, if you are a sacral or splenic authority, you do have a much faster decision making process. They're different, but they're both going to be a very strong hit of yes or no. So sacral authority comes from the gut, and it's drawing you forward energy. Yes, this is a yes. And if you explore the no, it's still like that feels terrible, right? Like if you want to do something or start a program or start a mastermind and people are like asking you, well, what does it feel like not to start that mastermind? And it feels terrible in your body to think about not doing that, right? And so it's driving you in that, like I know it, I feel it in my gut. When you are in your brightest energy as a sacral being and that's your authority, following that impulse is is the right path for you. That's taking you down the path of, okay, this is your correct path. With splenic authority, it's very similar, but it's lighter and quicker. And I know, Sebastian, you have splenic authority. I have sacral authority. Sebastian has splenic authority. And so that can show up as like a quick, like, yeah, do that. Or, whoa, nope, that's not right. And
Mhm.
then that's it. And if you don't follow it in that moment or take note of that and be like, oh, I just got that was a no hit with that person. Why is that? Right. And then explore that. That's how you know how to follow your decision making.
Awesome. So a few things that are coming up to mind here as you share that is, so for everybody watching here, where you have your authority, you know which one that is. And so then decision making, simplifying it to this is about decision making. Okay, where do the decisions in your life come up? And It's going to be very simple here. You buying things, you launching things, you deciding on strategy things, you implementing strategy things, you making team decisions, you making personal decisions. Those are all areas where decision making is key. And so if we're going against our design for making those decisions, then there's going to be issues. But if we are going with it, so I'd say is looking at those different areas that you're making decisions in, small, big, everything in between, and then, okay, what's your authority type? And how can we practice? And I say we because, we're both walking the talk as well. It's how can we practice noticing that intuition type, that feeling, and following the strategy for it so that we can make the best decisions based on our own design.
Mhm.
Would that be accurate, would you say?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then understanding this is the beauty I think that it brings, especially being in the mastermind, in the money magnet mastermind, is we get to see everyone else and start to see how unique we are. And then also, oh, this is how it works for that person. How interesting. So when you go out in the world and meet someone else who has, like that similar energy, or, oh, I heard this person talk about their emotional authority and what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
We start to like understand other humans around us so much better just by the nature of us knowing how unique we are and talking to other people and through their process. It brings another level of humanity and compassion into the world that I think is really, really special.
Right. And I feel like that's perfect for mastermind leaders. So whether a person is a mastermind leader or aspiring to be one, leadership. So knowing what's going on in here and what is the way to go with our own design, how we're wired in here is huge on its own. And then also as mastermind leader being like, okay, we've got a bunch of different types in the bubble, whether it's projectors, generators, manifestors, reflectors, all different combinations of the gene keys. So from a leadership angle, also getting more familiar with it so that people can be in their own flow as well. And if that seems overwhelming, it probably is if we try and, take a bite out of the whole thing at once, but just step by step, building the unconscious competence, the practice of, okay, for the emotional authority people, it's going to help to take some time, for the gut response, Blenick, it's just what was the first instinct that a person had. So leadership in terms of self-leadership, mastermind leadership, super, super powerful and very worthwhile, I believe, to continue honing the familiarity with this approach.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The self-leadership, I think, the way that you put that, I think that's one of the most important things that we're seeing. We're seeing this shift collectively, right?
Right.
And into more authenticity, into more transparency with leadership. And that I think that is going to be one of the hallmarks of people who we are willing to follow going forward is those who have integrity, who have self-leadership, who are looking at themselves and wanting to better themselves and then extending that grace to the people that they are leading.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so this has been fantastic. So what I'd like to do here is do a summary of today and then bring it home with a message or a last piece that you feel called to share. And so with the money magnetism journey today, we started about, what was the core problem? The core problem was having these wonderful systems, but it being overwhelming with information and how to take just information and words into meaningful change that happens. And especially for mastermind leaders to grow their business. And so you shared, and Hannah shared with us that you've been a certified financial planner for over 17 years. And so you're bringing that lens of the tried and true basics of finance, as well as the money magnetism, gene keys, human design lens to view it through. And really defining what is money magnetism. It's drawing in it's the people you're attracting. for better or worse, or anything in between. So clients, team, joint ventures, investors, business collaborators. So who are we repelling or attracting? Actually, I'd do it the reverse. Who are we attracting or repelling? Something like that. I would reverse that. So taking a look at it of like charging up your magnet in the right way. So you're drawing the right people, and seeing very practically money magnetism looks like inspiration, boom, action, 2, mood, 3, words, 4. Those line up so that a person is bright and shiny. And that's not even like a fluffy way of saying it. It's just like people, as you shared, say, wow, you're really lit up. Like you're bright. People can tell. So going into then the gene keys of the pearl sequence, prosperity, and your approach to finding in the culture sphere. And that's just one of the 4, that you really dive into with people. So the shadow, identifying the shadow, and then the sub shadows, and then like, where is that showing up this week? And instead of being in that money repellent energy, how can we step into the gift, which you shared? And then bringing it home with human design. All right, what's our decision-making authority? And when we buy things, launch things, decide on strategy things, implement things, make team decisions, how can we be in that strategy rather than against that? And how that all flows together for self-leadership as well as mastermind leadership for your people. So we've covered a lot of ground today. And what, kind of closing message do you feel inspired to share?
The last piece that I think I'd like to share is that I am just constantly and forever amazed at how unique each one of us is,
Mm.
and how, like, even when we have similarities, our life experience helps things, it just shows up differently. And I have seen how powerful it is over and over again for people to start to know themselves more deeply. And again, that piece of that self-reflection, self-leadership, the way that it shifts the way that you show up for yourself and for your people, is invaluable. And it really does make the world a better place. And so that's my mission, and my goal is to help people transform their relationship with money in a way that will then help them impact more of the people that they are here to impact in their lives. So it all goes together, and it's this beautiful tapestry, to bring all these pieces that seem like they're complicated and far apart, and weave them all into one really beautiful tapestry.
Right. And there's a phrase or a tagline that you say that I really like, because no matter what a person is making or not making or whatever, it's the relationship to the money. And you've seen so many things on every side of the spectrum where maybe on paper it looks like it's a good relationship, but inside it's not. So really your mission, your vision, your calling of um, the tagline that you share with people, where it's like, spend joyously. If you
Yeah,
started on
yeah,
that.
yeah. Teaching people how to save wisely, spend joyfully, and support the causes that matter to their heart generously. All three.
Mm, absolutely. And so, if people want to continue the conversation and go deeper into this, you have your Money Magnet Mastermind, which does exactly this
Mhm.
uh, throughout the month. Could you share some more on that? Because the link below this video, you can get in contact with Hannah, and she can, take it from there. But yeah, tell us about the Money Magnet Mastermind.
The Money Magnet Mastermind meets 3 times per month. So it meets on the first, second, and fourth Tuesday of every month. And we deep dive on one topic throughout each month. So, like I mentioned earlier, we're on the vocation sphere this month. But what that looks like is you are in community with other people who are interested in and learning about their own money magnetism, their gene keys, their human design. And it's like a active study group, I want to say. And so I'm bringing my expertise and my lens of being able to filter lots of information. I use lots of different resources and distill them down into really actionable nuggets, and allowing everyone to talk about it and learn from each other, and learn for themselves, through this mastermind. It's $111 per month, or 1,111 if you sign up for 1 year. So that's 2 months free there. And there are also opportunities for going deeper personally, like on a one-on-one level, both through Expansive CEO and through X Squared Wealth Planning, where we bring in human design no matter where you are. But yes, there's the mastermind is my group offering, and then the other individual offerings come off of that as well.
Mm. Wonderful. So yeah, the link is below to continue the journey. And so that'll bring us home for today. This has been Money Magnetism with Hannah Chapman. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.